She used to sit silently at the back of the classroom, too shy to speak even when she knew the answer. Today, Kirsty Carden steps onto stages in front of thousands, speaking alongside names like Stephen Bartlett and Sara Davies, and inspiring women across the world to find their voice and own the room. But this transformation didn't happen overnight. Kirsty didn't just learn to speak confidently, she rewired the inner voice that once held her back. She now steps on stage with zero fear, a concept that once would have terrified her. So how did she silence the self-doubt? What mindset shifts helped her go from invisible to unforgettable? And what can you learn from her journey to transform your own confidence? Find out how you too can transform your life and your business as I ask the important question. Kirsty Carden. So, what's your story? Welcome to So What's Your Story, Kirsty.
Well, thanks for having me.
We're down here in London with you.
Yeah.
I know you trekked across town and everything else, and it's a lovely, warm, sunny day. We're in the studio here, but I always ask my guests this, which is really simple. It's your story, so you know it better than no one else. But I do want to I want to turn the clock back a little bit, because I mentioned in my beginning, my intro, that you're from a humble background. It's not as if you were born into success. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I grew up, I'm one of 5 children. I grew up in council housing. We didn't have any money. My mum is an immigrant. My dad was adopted, and yeah, it wasn't the easiest upbringing, should I say? So it was tight. There was a lot of poverty, both financially but also mentally as well. So it was actually when I was 16 that I actually got out of that by going to college and actually going into a different environment, which is when things started to shift for me. And it's interesting because it's one thing that I've always thought about is I'm very different to my siblings. And you know, it's that thing of like, what makes me different? How did I think my way out of it? How did I create a different life to everyone else? I'm still close to my siblings and we have a great relationship, but they're very different to me. They think very differently. So yeah, it kind of started like that. And it's changed a lot through getting into a different environment, you know, from you know, a young age, which was 16. Yeah.
Wow. You know, there's so many people come on this show that have had similar. You know, they've either had, you know, a dysfunctional family or there's been not a lot of money or, you know, and it's really interesting to listen to how individuals like yourself make that conscious decision at such a young age. Yeah. Because you literally did, didn't you? Yeah. You said this almost, I'm not going to put words in your mouth here, but what I'm thinking is, was it you saying, I will not... I will break a legacy here almost. Yeah. And it's really weird, isn't it? Because you're doing that as a child. I know. So it's like, how does a child think like that? Yeah. And it's like, I can remember certain memories. So I have like a really clear memory. We used to get bailiffs at the doors a lot because my mum wouldn't pay the poll taxes, right? Which is council tax now. And my mum would, and I had this really distinct memory of like being on the stairs and like hearing my mum like talk funny, like her voice had changed and she was talking differently. And I'm like, what's going on there? And she was saying, that's not our TV, that's not this, that's not that. And I know she was flirting with a person who was trying to take things because she hadn't paid the bills. And you know, the thing is, she was just very bad with money, right? She could have paid them. She spent money on it. But I remember that feeling of like, oh, this feels really icky. Like my mum's lying. I can feel that she's lying to someone. You weren't comfortable with that. Yeah. And I was just like, I never want to be in that situation where, you know, my child feels uncomfortable, is worried about their house being taken away, is worried about like, you know, the basics in life not being there. Yeah. And I remember feeling that in me and being like, this isn't the life that I want. Like, I don't want this feeling of feeling unsettled. And it wasn't just financially, right? There was a lot of like, I'm going to leave, I'm going to kill myself, I'm going to this, that, like other things which made me feel super unsettled. And I just remember being like, I'm not having that. I'm not being like that. And physically, I look very different to the rest of my family too. So everyone was very obese and they'd eat a certain way. So
That's the other thing. From a young age, at 14, I went the opposite way. I really controlled how I ate. I got bulimic actually. And
Did you?
I actually suffered with bulimia for quite a few years.
Wow.
And had borderline anorexia. But it was the one thing I could control at that age. It wasn't until I was 16 that I could go to college, I could stay in halls, and I could kind of get myself out of the situation. That was all I could control. So I remember like physically seeing and being like, I want to control and I want something different. But also mentally having that thing of like, I don't want my own child to feel like that. I don't want to feel this way. And it was a very distinctive memory that I have. Obviously, there's lots of little things, but that was a very distinctive one. The bailiffs being at the door and feeling my mum lie and feeling that unsettled feeling of like, are we going to have all our stuff taken away?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'd say that they're some of the things I think that shaped me from that.
Because a lot of people continue in the same pattern and some break it. You broke it. So when you decided college 16, let's start to try and better myself, how did that map out for you? I mean, was it sort of, was there a destiny that you could see at that stage? Was it just let's just see where it goes, or how?
So I knew I wanted to do, the only thing that I knew I wanted to do at that age, this was many years ago now, a few decades ago, was media, because it was the only thing that I had a visual of, right? Like storytelling. Like I liked movies and storytelling and things like that. So I kind of knew I wanted to do something in media. So the colleges near me and the school didn't do anything like that. And I was really interested in psychology as well. I found this college that did communication psychology, it did media studies, it did sociology. Wow. And I was really interested in these subjects. And I looked at this college, it was about an hour or so from me, and it had halls. And I was like, oh my God, that would be perfect. Like I could go and stay there and go away somewhere, right? At 16, my parents had no money.
Right.
Well, long story short, manifested a sponsorship. So I got sponsored.
Really?
Yeah, I got sponsored to basically go to this college.
Did you know it was a manifestation then?
No, not then. Yeah,
because
because it just came out of nowhere. Like I had no idea that this company would sponsor me, right? Wow. So and that was on my mum. Actually, she it was someone that she worked with, that she spoke to, and it just came out of nowhere. Like she didn't would have pushed it. She wouldn't know that they would have done that. So it was a conversation, and it kind of came out of nowhere. So that enabled me to go to college, stay at the halls for the 2 years, and that was when I discovered things just like that were never noticed, like that I was dyslexic, but also I got A grade. I got perfect actually A grades on one paper, and before that I never thought I was that intelligent. I never thought I could do things like that. Do you know what I mean? But I think this is the thing. It's your environment shapes you so much, and being around people that listen and that were nurturing and that do you know what I meant? Like having good mentors made such a difference. And obviously that's shifted to what I do today, because it was just like, wow, getting into that different environment, being around, like staying in halls, making these really great friends, going to college, even the environment, like I went to Chichester. I went to Chichester College, and Chichester is a really nice area. It was really lovely then. So even going to and living in a nicer area, it shifted how I saw things. Obviously, the things I actually learned shifted, like learning sociology, learning psychology, learning all these things shifted how I saw the world, that stuff. But the actual people, them having a belief in me and them seeing things in me, and even just my mentor noticing, like my teacher, that she was dyslexic and noticed that I was dyslexic and got me tested, just things like that were just always never noticed. Wow. So it really was that shift at just 16 years old that, that's got me on the path that I am now, and why I kind of do what I do. It kind of started from those moments.
It's almost like what I'm hearing there is you started to have a voice as well.
Yeah.
Excuse the pun.
Yeah.
You literally did, didn't you? Because you were sort of, you were being noticed. And Kirsty as a person was finding her own way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think also being one of 5 and one of the older ones as well. Yeah. And I'm sure anyone who's got like a big family notices it's always the younger one that gets more attention. So like the older you are, you end up just looking after your siblings and you don't get the attention as much. You don't. I think that's affected me as far as only wanting to have one child and not multiple children, because I noticed that dynamic of like you don't get as much attention from your parents, right? Because there were so many kids. The youngest one always gets the most attention. So going out, not really being a sibling anymore, just being my own person, you kind of get that in a different way, right?
Yeah, and on that point of view, you say as well about the importance of who's around you. There's quite a well-known adage, isn't there? I'm going to paraphrase it, but, show me a person's 5 closest circle and I will show you them in 5 years.
Yeah.
Because if you're hanging around with people who've got no ambition, who just don't want to do anything, who are negative, who that it is going to rub off on you. Yeah. It just is. Because we're all human. Right?
It is, yeah.
So interesting then, isn't it, that, you start to find this journey of psychology, and then presumably the eating disorder corrected itself. Is that the right way of saying it?
Yeah, so it started to. So I'll tell you briefly about that. So I had that kind of 14, 15. Again, my mum didn't really understand it. It kind of pushed it a little bit in the sense of it was making me eat more than I wanted to. So that's kind of how it pushed it a little bit. Yeah. So when I went to college, it continued a little bit, but only sporadically. And it happened all the way up until I was 20. So it was quite a few years that it didn't completely go. And I actually went, and obviously this is a separate story to start, when I found out I was pregnant at university with my son. And the moment I found out I was pregnant with him, obviously separate story, but I was like, I can't do this because I can't jeopardize what's here. And stopped, literally, some people, when they just give up smoking, it's just like that. It was like that. It was just I can't do that anymore. And it just, it being an occasional thing that I'd still turn to if I felt uncomfortable, I ate too much, it just kind of disappeared. So it wasn't until I hit 20 and I found I was pregnant that I actually kind of completely went, because I never got any actual help with it,
Gosh.
There was never any help with it. So it was that shift in my life.
Yeah. And let's just make an important point here whilst we can. This episode is not about Kirsty's eating disorder or anything else that she came from. It's about where she is right now in her life. But of course, it's just to give context. And if you are out there, if you are struggling with your mental health, if you're struggling with low mood, if you're struggling with bulimia or eating disorders, seek professional advice. We are not counselors. We are not advisors. So I just want to add that straight away. But, it's interesting, isn't it, that there was a point where you describe yourself as once fearing the spotlight. Can you help us understand those feelings? Help us to kind of explain what it was like back then? Because I've had various guests that, like you, that stand on big stages and they love it. They actually, and I've seen you on the stage recently at an event, and you owned that stage, and recently with Bartlett, and we'll talk to that in a bit later. But take us back to, because it wasn't always like that for you, was it? Surely there must have been. You talk about this fear of the spotlight. Yeah. Can you help us, take us back to that moment, if you may, and then when you did start to publicly speak, was it the butterflies, the dry mouth, the shaking that
Yeah. So from a young child, so I was really shy growing up. So I didn't like to raise my hand in class. I didn't want to do you know what I mean? Speak. I didn't want to speak up. I would always just feel super uncomfortable.
I would never imagine that.
Really? I know, trying to go into that version of myself, just unconfident. And then when I did start in my 20s, I was, I did have a job in the media industry. And even then, being in meetings and having to speak up, I would get I could feel my whole body and and just felt like my voice was kind of feeling jittery. I felt so uncomfortable in those situations. Wow. And I don't know, obviously it was my background and stuff where I came from, but I felt just so uncomfortable. And the thought of speaking in front of people was just so nerve-wracking and so out of my comfort zone, even when I started my business, having to do a video, I was thinking that first moment of just getting the phone and actually recording a video and putting it out there on the internet was probably the biggest step ever, because it was so just not me. I remember my husband being like, this is so not you. I was like, yeah, but I've got to do it. People need to see who I am. So it was that feeling of just worrying about all of it. Could I not know what I'm going to say? And though I was fine on a one-on-one basis or small groups, it was that whole thing of being in the spotlight, everyone's looking at me and I feel deeply uncomfortable. You know what I mean? So it was kind of that feeling. And I do think part of it was not knowing myself, being confident in myself, but not necessarily being in the role that I was made for in life, So yes, I was good at what I did and I enjoyed, the work I did in the media industry and stuff like that. But that wasn't my place. That wasn't my purpose. That wasn't the thing that I could, you could ask me any question about anything and I could answer it, right? Like, as in, it wasn't the place where I felt most confident and comfortable. And I think once you find your space in your place and you know your opinions and your values and what you stand for, what you stand against, it's very easy to speak because you're just speaking your truth and you know who you are and you know your stuff, right? So I think part of it was also that of like not completely knowing who I was, knowing I was in an industry that wasn't completely aligned to who I was, you know, there was that disalignment a little bit, which I think affects your confidence. So yeah, that was kind of where I was then.
And, I mean, we'll talk about this further on, but now you help and coach and, you do an amazing job with a big community of people. I mean, you've helped thousands of people find their voice. So I guess it sort of almost begs the question, what would you say to people listening right now that feel, I'm not quite where I want to be. I'm not, I do feel there's more to be said. I do feel that I'm not heard. I do feel like I'm sort of a shrinking violet. I do feel that I feel uneasy, making myself heard. I know you do a whole program on this and people can reach out to you and you can coach and help them find that voice. But is there something that you would say just, simply to people,
Yeah, I think it's that whole thing of knowing what you want to say, what you like. You've got to feel passionate about something to want to do it, right? To get over a fear and to do it, you've got to really want to do it, right? Do you know what I mean? It's got to be worth it. Like for me to actually go and do my first video, to get on stage, it's got to be like, there's got to be a reason why. So I think always start with the reason why. Why is this actually important? What is it I want to get out of it? You've got to have that and be doing it for a reason. And for many of us, like if you're in business or you're starting a business, well, your voice is everything, right? Like what you say and how you show up, that's what you do. It's what we're doing right now, right? Like it's everything, everything starts with that. So that in itself is a reason, right? If you're in business or you're going to start a business, but everyone can have their own unique reasons, because I always think there's reasons beyond that deeper level that you can kind of connect to.
But what about those people who are listening, and it's just echoed in my mind actually, which is rather bizarre, which is, oh yeah, I'd love to, but... or I couldn't possibly, all of these cliches, well, they're not cliche, the real feelings to a lot of people. I think we're going to unpack this with you today, but is it fair to say that you can be taught to express yourself? You can be taught 100%. To speak. You can be taught to stand confidently on a stage. You're living proof of that.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Like I've worked with clients that have been absolutely petrified and then they standing ovations and they love it and it's completely changed their perception. So yes, I see it with my clients and obviously, I know for myself, but you definitely can change that. But it does start with the language. You just said about what a lot of people say, I'd love to, but, even just changing it to something like, I'd love to, and, but is just can all everything. So it's like just changing the way you start to speak, because, the excuse can also be the reason to do it, So actually like listen to that. What's this thing that you're saying? But, well, that's probably also the reason to do it. It's like a lot of people.
I love that.
Yeah. A lot of people pull back and they go, but I can't do it because I haven't got the money. Well, maybe the reason you want to do it is because you want to make the money, or, the reason, haven't got the confidence. Well, actually you'll get confident through doing it. So it's actually just changing it and realizing an excuse is a reason to do it as well, to reframing that. And as a practical thing, I think start small. I think the problem is when people think about speaking, they think like, I was 2 weeks ago, is it now? 2 weeks ago? I think it was 2 weeks ago. Time just I don't get time anymore. It's just going like that. I think it was just over a week ago, actually. I was on stage, in front of 1,000 people, like sharing it actually was, Sara, Davies, Bartlett. And I think a lot of people, they think of that end destination. They think about, I've got to speak, and they think about the big scary thing of like being in front of loads of people and this and that, but we don't start there. Yes, if you went from never speaking in front of anyone other than a one-to-one conversation, and then you jumped on a stage in front of 1,000 people with no preparation, none of it, like mental preparation, physical preparation, of course, you are going to freeze, and that's not going to be a great thing. Yeah. You start by building up really small, so just having like that conversation with somebody where you feel a little bit nervous, shooting a video and putting it online, you know, like how I got here was through small incremental steps, tiny little things consistently.
Yeah.
And that builds confidence. You know, don't think about just jumping on a massive stage. You'll get there by just doing one little thing at a time and just slowly pushing yourself out.
I guess it's kind of like saying to somebody, isn't it, who's not particularly healthy, might be a bit of a couch potato, might be a bit overweight. Okay, right, we're going to go and do a marathon tomorrow. No freaking chance on earth. But if you say to that person, you know, or if that person is on board to say, yeah, you know what, I'd like to improve my fitness. Let's just walk for a mile and then let's walk for 2 and let's create that into a jog. And we've seen all of these transformation stories in men and women, you know, that you can do anything if you put your mind to it, but you can't do it like that. That's the first thing I'm hearing from you. And secondly, you know, build those blocks. You know, that old saying, you wouldn't build a house on sand because it'll fall down. You can't. You've got to build. Like building a muscle. You know, so Kirsty, you know, you are successful. It's obvious what you've achieved and continue to achieve, and you work hard to get there. But a lot of entrepreneurs talk about failure. And you know, that word is a strong word. But I'll just ask you the direct question. What has failure taught you?
Yeah, it's interesting. So the word failure, I don't identify with it that much because I do see everything as a learning curve, you know, like,
I love that.
You know, it's like, you know, rather than seeing it as you learn something or you win something, it's always learning, right? And that's the whole thing of like, every time you do something, it's just helping you navigate your path. Oh, that didn't work that well. Okay, so I won't do that. I'll do this instead. That worked well. Okay, I'll do more of that, you know? So it's just helping you navigate what's working, you know? I think really what it has helped me learn is just like, pay attention to those signs. Like what is working, what isn't. Like you could easily go, oh, that failed, that didn't work, I'm going to try something else. That failed, I'm going to try something else. Well, wait a minute, why did it fail? Like, was it out of alignment? Did you not actually do this or that? You know, it depends on what the thing you're doing, right? But there's always a reason. There's always a reason. And you want to be like a detective and you want to be, you know, curious. You know, I think being curious, okay, why did that fail? Why didn't that work? I always I do these mastermind days, and one of the first things I do is I get people to look at what were the goals you set for yourself the previous year? What did you achieve and what didn't you achieve? And then we map out, we look at their blueprint. What's your blueprint for when you actually achieve something? And what's your blueprint for when you don't? Because we all have a unique blueprint. And when we know those things about ourselves, we can fail a lot less, right? We can actually have more success because we follow our own unique path. And that's the same with anything else that you do. It's just like, pay attention to the signs. Actually, you know, reflect on what it is that you've done, you know?
A great guy said to me many, many years ago when I felt that I'd failed drastically in something, and he gently sat with me and said, Ian, you didn't fail. You just weren't ready. And that's an interesting other perspective, isn't it? Because often we attempt something and it doesn't go well. I, like you, don't like the word failure. I don't like it. Because I don't think we do. I think I actually, that lesson from a very wise man many years ago stuck with me. I just think sometimes you're just not ready. Because, you know, I can cite instances, I'm sure you can, where I've gone for something, it hasn't quite worked out. Yet many years later, I'm doing that exact thing.
Exactly.
So I just wasn't ready at that time, was I?
Exactly. You weren't ready, but you might be ready another time. So it doesn't mean give up, right? No. It doesn't mean failure. Failing something once doesn't mean give up. And what I do see, obviously I'm a mentor, so I see people that might have tried in business or tried to speak or tried to do something on their own or even with the wrong person, it didn't work. Then they work with me and then it does work. And I think sometimes it's also finding, again, that environment thing we were talking about earlier, the right people. So you could have tried it on your own over and over again, but you only know what you know, right? Like, you know, there's only so much you know from your life path. So it's just, there's other people that have already done it, who already have information, and again, like having people who believe in you around you and in your corner pulls out things from you that you can't do on your own. 100%. You know?
Working with the right people, because you coach, you mentor, but you've also, you know, you don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk. And, you know, it's like a little bit like, I don't know, therapists. I hear a lot of people say, myself included. You know, when I went for therapy, I suddenly found a therapist that just, they got me. They got me. They understood me.
Yeah.
And then it was a whole different journey.
Exactly.
You know, you can work with lots and different people around you, but when you find the secret sauce that resonates, then again, it comes back to, it's not that you couldn't do it. It's just that you weren't guided the right way.
Yeah. Exactly. So you can see that with relationships as well.
Of course. Yeah.
Right? Like just because somebody got divorced once doesn't mean all relationship, is all a failure, and it's just, it wasn't the right person. It wasn't the right time. It wasn't the right match.
100%.
And and it can completely change your perception on love or on relationships just from having one experience. But you got to understand that's not the end. The story isn't over there. That was the learning. You learned what worked for you, what didn't,
I love it.
I think it's always understanding that, with the right support, right people around you, the right mindset, the right information, everything can change. Any failure can be completely changed around. And also I have a very successful mentor, and he fails all the time. And he tells us about it. He tells us about this didn't work because of this and that, right? And it's that mindset of just always going, right, that didn't work. Okay, why didn't it? Let's see why. Now let's go on to the next thing. Not going, I don't know what I'm talking about, right? And I see this a lot because I work with women, and we can sometimes just, go too much into it and make it mean something it doesn't mean, It's a sign. I shouldn't ever do it, right? Like, I'm no good at this. I can't do this. Make it mean, don't add meaning to something that doesn't have meaning yet. You put the meaning on it, right? So actually just look at it as an opportunity to learn and grow, there's no full stop. You're adding that, right? It's just, okay, what next,
Interesting piece you said there, your mentor. A lot of people forget this. World champion sportsmen, the best in the world at what they do, entrepreneurs, very successful people, most likely have got someone in their corner coaching, mentoring them. Yeah. Why is that important to you, Kirsty? Does it keep you...
Yeah, it keeps me accountable. It's about learning things that I don't know, right? Because I don't know everything,
Of course you don't.
Yeah, nobody
none
does.
Of us do.
No, exactly. So learning the things that I don't know, and for me, I like to join masterminds. So it's my mentor, but also other like-minded people. That's so important to me, is to be around that and to create those relationships, and that part of things is really important as well. So soon as I started my business in 2016, I signed up I think in 2015, I got a mentor. I just would not have started a business without not having someone. How would I know what to do, right? For me it was just how, I'm going to quit my job and just go into this coaching industry and not know how to run a business. I obviously I haven't done that before, so I need to have someone in my corner. So from the get-go, I knew that it was important. And I see so many people struggle thinking that they've got to figure everything out on their own, trying to do it on their own, failing because they haven't done it and they don't have that knowledge. Yes, you can try and Google and piece things together, but it takes so much longer than if you actually have someone, especially someone that knows you, like you said about your therapist. When you click with someone and you've got that energy and you've got that respect for each other, that really helps bring out things in you that you can't actually do on your own, Yeah,
and you talk about accountability. I mean, that's so important.
Yeah, it is.
Because again, we can have our own guidance, inner drive, whatever. Yeah. But if somebody's saying to you, "Hey, Kirsty, did you complete that, or how did you get on with that?" Or literally making you accountable.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a very good thing.
Well, you think about it, we always are held accountable from the moment we're born, right? We've got parents that keep us accountable. We go to school, we've got teachers that hold us accountable. Yeah. We go into work, we have managers, supervisors that keep us accountable. And then when you go into the business world, suddenly people think you just don't need anyone. You still need that type of accountability,
Yeah. And I think there's something else you mentioned there, Kirsty, which actually took my mind back to my late father, who was an incredibly wise guy. He was so wise. Some of his pearls of wisdom have just stuck with me to this day, obviously. And he's no longer with us, God rest his soul. But, one of the things he always said, which is very, very relevant to what we're talking about right now, is, Ian, if you want to buy diamonds, ask a diamond dealer or a jeweler, not the dustbin man. No disrespect to dustbin man, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's not the right person to ask. And again, if you're setting up a business, please don't go wherever you hang out and ask somebody who has no idea what you're trying to achieve, has no experience, and who has no credibility. And you just go, well, they said.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like bullshit, right? It's really, you know.
It's one of the biggest reasons that like I hear women when they want to work with me, like alongside everything else, but like that thing of like, I've got no one around that supports me, no one gets it, no one's ever had a business. Everyone's saying it's a crazy thing to do. Like
even those closest to you sometimes.
Yeah, of course, because they want to protect you.
They want to protect you.
That's the thing you got to understand. They only know like the safe world of like, for example, having a job and having things a certain way. And then if you go and do something out of that, they're worried for you. So they're doing it with love, but it's not helping you if you want something different to them, right? It's like they're just trying to keep you safe. So it's, listening to that, someone who's never done it, is not useful, right? It's not useful at all. It's not going to help you, you know? And they're not trying to do it to hurt you. They're doing it from a good place, but it's not good if you want something different from them, you know? So that's where you need to get around people. And now, like, my circle is pretty much all entrepreneurs, right? Like, I can't imagine any other life. Like, I've been doing this for 9 years. Like, I can't imagine ever being in a job or that kind of mindset. Like, I've tried to think about it sometimes. I'm just like, I can't even fathom it now. Like, I'm not made to be in that world, you know? Yeah. So, but you have to get exposed to it. You have to be around people who are doing it so that it feels right, and you have that support, and it becomes the norm, you know? Whereas most people, if you're not doing that, it isn't the norm, and they're going to say things to put you off, you know, they're going to do that. Yeah,
it's also having that person, that organization, that individual, whatever it might be, in your corner.
Yeah.
That when you are going to, you know, when you've agreed or you've taken it on your own, fruition to take that leap of faith in yourself.
Yeah.
To just have a sense check sometimes as well, to just say, hey, you know, Ian, Kirsty, whoever it might be. I'm not a coach, but you know, hey, Kirsty, you know, I'm going to do this, you know, or I'm going to do this, but I'm worried about this.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, it just makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
It just makes absolute sense. So, hey, we spoke about this earlier, which is your success hasn't happened overnight. It hasn't.
No.
You know, albeit it's great success now. What do you believe? And we talked about this, you know, foundational, taking it slowly. Some people can catapult very, very quickly. And that's part of the program that you put together to help people get there quicker than doing it on their own. Yeah. I mean, that's what you do.
Yeah.
But, you know, do you believe that there's been benefits for you in that time period of getting it right, having the foundations, having the, you know, mentor? Do you think that there's been benefits to you?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you only know in hindsight, don't you?
Of course you do. Of course you do, yeah.
You know, in hindsight. I think, like, you don't know any other way, do you, once you've done it? I think it helps you discover yourself. And I think the thing is, like, because I would see people, like, for some people, like, I remember the programs that I started and the groups I started with, most people aren't an entrepreneur now, right? I'm one of very few, you know, that. But I remember when I started, I was catapulting from other people then. But then there was also people catapulting me, right? So it's like you only see what you see.
Yeah.
And we're all different. Like, we've got to be so aware that, like, our journey, like, if you know, of course, if you could pick, hey, I want to fast track it, everyone's going to pick that. But mentally, could you do that? Are you able to? You in the right space? You know, your family, or, you know, where you are in life. Is it you even in a space to be able to do that? We can all look and go, if I could press that, I would. But it doesn't mean that you and you as an individual and your mindset and where you are, like, is available to do that right now, right? Everyone starts in a different place. Unfortunately, life isn't like, we don't all start on a level playing field. We don't. Like, we can't pretend that we do.
Yep.
I had a friend who started coaching a year before me, and, like, all her parents are entrepreneurs. They're very successful, and she did good really quickly. She obviously had financial investment and stuff to help her, but mentally she was in a space, of course I can be an entrepreneur, of course I can make money, like, you know, and had parents that would help that, as well as her doing training and all that. So, you know, like, whereas you sometimes have to get over things, just like for me, I had to get over the fear of public speaking, right? Like, I had to face a big fear for myself and overcome that. And that wasn't going to happen, like, overnight, you know? So I think we've got to just understand that we're all on a different journey, and, you know, actually sometimes being slower or faster or however, again, it's all perception, isn't it? How we see it.
It is.
And all we're doing is comparing to others, right? I know if I look at it in reality, I've probably done it a lot quicker than most people, but it isn't just about how quick it is. It's about longevity. Like I say this about all success, right? It's about anyone can have a one-hit wonder. Anyone can just do something quickly, one and done.
True.
But maintaining something, the distance, a long time, that's, I think, success. So no matter where you are in it, if you're able to do it and you're able to keep making money and keep showing up year after year after year,
I mean,
not
look,
giving up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, let's bring it to here today. We're in a podcast studio. We are producing a podcast.
Yeah.
A lot of people, look at Stephen Bartlett because he is the most known name in the UK right now, and understandably so, for podcasting The Diary of a CEO. Yeah. There you go, Stephen. I'm plugging you. You should. But you know, little do people know that he started in a very small apartment with his computer. He actually had a duvet over his head to soundproof with a torch, speaking into a very cheap microphone. Right. Yeah. So when people say, "Oh, well, I'm going to start a podcast because I want to be the next Stephen Bartlett," wow. Has he put a lot of time, energy, effort, resource, blood, sweat and tears? Yeah. And it's, I think, 7, 8, 9 years now. Yeah. You know, so.
Yeah. And I've met Stephen Bartlett. I've spoken to him twice. Yeah. And he talks about this and people saying that. And one of the things he does mention as well is his attention to detail is huge. Like he looks at every little thing, like, when I did this podcast, you know, we had an exclamation mark here, we had this, and he really
drill into
the data
and all sorts,
and he's got a huge team. So that's the other thing, support who you have. You can build quicker the more support you have. It's massive. Every time you hear him speak, he always says that team is the most important thing. And again, it's similar to what we're talking about, relationships, people, support.
But he posted something today. Well, this is the 14th of May 2025, so it's current. Whether it was posted today, whether it came to my feed today, I don't know. But he posted something very interesting, which was his journey that people haven't seen. So it's when he's fallen asleep on the train or on a bench in an airport, or that's another area which he's not proud of, and he doesn't advocate. Yeah, he doesn't say, go, like I did. I was a bit stupid. And he's realised that from guests on his show that have said about burnout, that have said about mental, draining yourself, physically draining yourself. When I met you a few weeks ago, you were bouncing off of the stage where we were, very quickly onto another stage, then onto something else, and then eventually to AdCon with Bartlett and Sara Davies. And so it's a roller coaster for you as well. And let's touch on that, because part of an entrepreneur's journey is balancing that. Oh God, but I'm knackered. How do you balance your work-life balance?
Oh God, I'm not the person to ask this.
There you go. All your friends are closely going now. Oh, I'll wait to hear her say the answer to this one.
I am. Do you know what? One of the biggest issues is just like I did go from speaking to speaking. Like they all happen at the same time. Like every opportunity I get, they all do. Yeah. So I have chunks of time where I'm speaking, and like weeks where it's like I'm doing. So it does happen. So I weigh up the opportunity, right? So I weigh up, like, is it worth it? Like, just like podcast, I get asked to speak on podcasts all the time, but I say no to like 95% of them.
Thank you.
I know. You're welcome. So it's weighing up the opportunity and looking at it. Like I will always look at what it is. Like a lot of people, they'll be like, "Oh, I get to speak it. Yeah, let's just say yes." And they don't look. I look at brand alignment. I look at goal alignment. I look at value alignment, and it's got to make sense for me to put the time in. So I've got like at the moment I'm actually weighing up, because like July I've got like every week an opportunity and things that I have to do and things that are optional right now, and I'm just like, is that worth it? And I have to sum it up whether I'm going to do it or not. So I think it's really looking at like, is it worth it for you? And just weighing up time, because I wouldn't do a whole week of speaking and then do another whole week of speaking.
Yeah.
And I know I need to have a down week in between that. Like, I'm aware of my energy and how much I can give and stuff, because you get tired.
Oh, you do.
God, you really do when you speak. And holding that energy of
People
an audience.
forget that.
Yeah.
They forget that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I hope you don't mind me sharing, but when you went on the stage, you had a headache, and you know, you were feeling a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, you're having to take a little bit of time out.
Yeah.
But when you walked on that stage, it was boom. You'd have never known.
Yeah.
You'd have never known.
Yeah.
I knew because we chatted.
Yeah.
And nobody else did.
Yeah.
Because you've suddenly found a resource inside you that goes, I'm on the stage, I'm being paid. This is the public.
Yeah.
This is what I do.
Yeah.
I can't go on going.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. Being able to maintain your state and stuff, and you can do it to a certain extent. But if I was just like unwell or just going,
or just
not
doing
doing
it,
it, I wouldn't be able to access that resource as well. So you do have to take care of yourself. I think that is important, and to, you know, balance that energy. And it does come back to again, just like I said earlier, knowing yourself, knowing your goals. You know, is this opportunity worth it? You know, and you know, is it worth the time? And just managing your energy well, downtime. You know, working from home, then going to, you know, to events and stuff. I think it's just weighing it up well for yourself. You know, and again, everyone's different. Some people love like the spotlight and constantly being in it. I mean, like not.
Yeah, because you spoke earlier about, I mean, almost introvert traits, you know, saying I didn't like this. I didn't like to put my hand on. I didn't like to speak up. And,
exactly.
You know, so I'm sort of suggesting that you're maybe a bit of a hybrid.
I am. Yeah, you know, definitely. I need to have both. If I'm at home too much, and I'm on my laptop and that, I get bored. I'm like, you know what I mean? I need people. But then if I'm always with people, I need to have that downtime too. So I did make sure purposely, actually, after I did AdCon and Tube Fest and all of that, I had this really busy week, loads of stuff with clients. I was like, it was a bank holiday weekend after that. And I was like, I cancelled any plans, like had just a down weekend to myself. And my husband was away, and I just loved it. Loving life. Went to a spa, just chilled out. So I just made sure I had that time. I didn't have to talk to anyone, didn't have to do anything. Yeah. So I think it's that yin and yang and balancing your energy, you know, like that works for you. Knowing yourself, you know, like don't keep putting things in that you can't do, you know, just being really aware of that. I think it's really important.
Yeah, I think it's very important to keep that body battery charged.
Yeah, definitely.
It sounds like I'm plugging Stephen, and I'm not, but it was a moment for you that was almost like was it like a pinch moment to be with Sara Davies and Stephen and all of these amazing people at AdCon? And you're invited and you're holding your own. I mean, you know, how did that feel?
Great. Well, it was great. So first time happened
was it a little bit of a overwhelm, or did any imposter syndrome creep in, or?
No. And you know what? There was when I started feeling a bit of imposter syndrome, like before speaking at AdCon, knowing I was going to be meeting all these people and all of that type of stuff, Steve Bartlett, I'm really plugging him all the time, he posted a quote about how if you don't feel like an imposter, then you're not pushing yourself. You're not going to get anywhere in life. Basically, you should be feeling like an imposter sometimes, because that is showing growth. That's showing that you're getting. And I was like, that is so true. So, because how are you ever going to do anything? There's always going to be like, you know, when AdCon first time was 500 in person.
Yeah.
Like that was like the biggest stage. And then it was like, you know, then 1,000 and all of this. And so every time you're like, well, I've not, you know, been associated with people this high, or I haven't spoken on audiences this big, or stages that are this amazing, or worked with clients that are this great. Like there's always got to be a first time.
There's always got to be a first time.
Yeah, there has to be a first time. So you're going to feel a little bit like an imposter. But do you know what? That pushes me to do better.
So it's healthy, right?
It pushes me to do like better. And you know, like I had a client who spoke at AdCon, and you know, again, this is like the fast track. She'd only ever spoken in front of 80 people, and she was about to speak in front of 1,000. She wasn't used to speaking, and we created this incredible talk, and I went above and beyond with like time and everything, like got her nervous system, everything like into top whack. And she has made so many sales. It couldn't have gone any better. She got a standing ovation. And it's like that whole thing of like, I want to make sure you know, she's going from this to this. I've got to deliver and I've got to be the best coach. I was there with her right till she got onto stage. As soon as she came out, I ran behind stage crying. I was just so overwhelmed by how amazing she did. She was only one of 2 people that got standing ovation at a 3-day event. It was just incredible. So it's like all of it. Okay, I know that this is a big thing for you. I want to be the best because I want you to have a great result. I'm going to be speaking on a bigger stage. I've got to be better. How can I be better? So actually that feeling of being a slight imposter at any point, I think pushes you to be better, which can only be a good thing.
Yeah, actors talk about this, you know, if they don't get a slight bit of anxiety, not overwhelm, so it stops them performing well, then it's kind of like, you know, a bit of nerves, maybe not anxiety, but a bit of nerves, you know, a bit of tension before they go onto either a live stage or a film set. Most actors will tell you, we need that.
Yeah.
We need that.
Yeah. And it's like excitement and anxiety, the same feeling in the body.
Oh, yeah.
So you just tell us it's excitement, you know? It's...
Coming back to that piece when you've got, you know, your client and you're there and you're doing all of this, that sort of leads me nicely into this next piece, which is you talk about having a mission of transforming voices into impact and income. Why is that so important to you, Kirsty?
Well, I suppose it goes back to everything. Like, I didn't feel heard or seen as a child, I think, being one of 5, family, okay. So it definitely starts there, right? I think all of us, if we really look back at our why, I didn't have a strong female role model growing up.
Right.
I didn't feel seen or heard. I was one of 5 kids. So I think, again, the why starts there, but it's that whole thing of like, well, I want to be that for others. And I know the only way is they have to be heard, seen, but they've got to like own their voice. You've got to own your own voice. You've got to feel confident because again, we've only got one life, right? Yeah. Like, do you just want to waste it by holding back and not doing everything that you know that you can do? I think that's the biggest thing for me. It's very motivating to be like, well, it's kind of now or never. And if I would hate to end my life and be like, I didn't achieve what I know what was possible because I was afraid to say anything. So I think it comes back to that. And not only do I want that for myself, because I know that's changed everything. I just know the thing of like, again, just literally last week, standing in front of 1,000 people, I didn't feel nervous. I felt excited. I sat on the stage for an hour before I spoke because I was part of a panel as well. And I just didn't have those nerves that I would. And it's such a big thing for me to go, wow, if I can overcome that, and overcome anything. If I can do all these amazing things now and being able to take that, bottle it up and help others, and through me taking that action, it helps them. And what I love is that ripple effect. Like even just seeing my client on the stage, and she's now got all these new branding clients and she's helping them transform their brands, which will help them get clients so they'll be able to help more people, you know? I've got clients who like do things like homeopathy and like help women with fertility, and like, you know, people that couldn't have babies are now having babies. And you're just like, it's this ripple effect. There's only so many things I know how to do, and I can't do everything. I can't help somebody have a baby, right? or do their branding for them. So it's like, but if I help you do that, you can help people do all the things that you do, which helps them do things. And it creates this really positive ripple effect, you know? I have girls I sponsor in Mozambique. I pay for their education. And I do that because I know, again, they're not going to get an education. They're going to have a completely different life if I wasn't supporting them. They've got no access to anything. So it's like, it's all those things of like me doing that, me showing up, even me earning money so that I can give money to people that don't have it. It's creating a ripple effect, you know? And I think it's that kind of motivates me.
I think it's so beautiful what you do. And you know, it's a lesson to all of us, isn't it? Because if you don't have the resource to do what you do, but you do have this community now. You've helped literally, I think I read over 50,000 you worked with, or the community is 50,000. You know, it's I believe that, you know, you spoke about manifestation very early on, and I know you do that, and I know you do affirmation, gratitude, all of that is part of who you are. But my belief, as is a lot of people, is that if we give, it does come back. And it doesn't have to be a financial, if you can't afford to. It can literally be a smile. It can literally be a call, how are you? It can literally be opening a door for somebody who can't open a door.
Definitely.
You know, it can be as small as that. And it tends to become infectious, because if somebody sees you do it, they might do it as well.
Exactly.
You know?
And it's very easy to do
very
things good.
easy,
Like,
very
yeah,
easy.
I know.
It's easy. It's just as easy not to as it is to.
Yeah. So if it's just as easy, why not choose the option that's the better option?
The positive
that's
option.
going to have the positive ripple effect, you know, and make you feel better. Because every time you do something good, you feel better.
Exactly.
So you can.
So I can imagine in your world that if you wake up and maybe things are up against you that day or whatever. I can imagine there's a lot of positive energy coming in from your clients around going, hey, Kirsty, I've got this, I've got that. Oh, thanks. Can you help me with this? Suddenly you lift, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
It becomes this, what you were saying,
exactly.
who you surround you with, with.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's the future looking like then? What can you see?
Yeah.
What would you like to see?
So growing my Transform Speak and Sell Academy. So that's like probably one of my biggest things is to continue to grow that, growing the team and all of that, to just be able to support more people. Because I've always wanted to keep things to a size that everyone can have me, right? Like everyone can have me and I can be there. And I am going to continue to do that. But having more support around other parts of the business and extra things that mean that I can support more people. Because I've just got that need for more, and probably starting maybe a membership or something that can mean that I can reach more people as well.
Sure.
So I think for me, that's the main thing. I need to also, my content like podcast, YouTube, I've got to think about where I'm going forward with that and how I want to grow that as well. And just continuing to speak and to keep doing things really. I feel like because I also had a thing of like my business has changed and evolved over the years as well. So, I've had some changes in the last kind of year that to make it more evolved to where I'm at now, you know?
Yeah.
And now I feel really aligned with what I do and the direction everything's moving in. Yeah. So it's doing that and creating a bigger team. And creating a bigger team, again, I see it's giving back, like I'm looking to bring people on, even my sister, to like help and do sales and do things. And again, it's like giving other people access, giving other people work, giving other people jobs, like all of that. So it's always thinking of like, well, when I grow, others grow too. I can, it isn't just about me. It's about everyone else, people in my team, the clients I help, the ripple effect. I feel very connected to that. And that motivates me, because when I just think about myself, if I just think, it's just me doing this little thing on my own, there's no motivation in that. Like I'm not really financially motivated, to be honest. I like the things that money can give. Like I like traveling and going on holiday. I like that I've got a nice house and a nice car.
It gives you choice.
It gives you choice. I can give back.
It can give you
I like what it does,
freedom,
but I'm not like overly motivated by like numbers in the bank. I'm motivated by people and the energy and the feeling and the expanse.
Because then the rest will come.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So usually.
Yeah.
So how can people find you? How can they work with you?
Yeah.
I know you have the podcast. I know you've got, a great website and you've got great social media presence, but come on, give yourself a little shout out.
Right.
How can they?
Yeah, so I would say if you go onto my Instagram, that's probably the best way to connect with me, and you can message me. So at Kirsty Carden, at Instagram. And there will be a link to my latest free training there. So you can, you do a free training, and there'll be options if you want to book a call and stuff. Like I say, I've got the Transform Speak and Sell Academy, which is helping women really be able to sell, high ticket programs, create high ticket programs, but be able to speak, create their own platforms and speak on other people's platforms. So it's creating more profitability, and it's really like creating more impact and really, creating a talk. Because I think the talk, you being able to speak, is the thing that bridges followers to sales. It's the thing that people really get to understand what you do and for you to really have an impact. Yeah. So, that's the way, the main ways of working with me. I do events all the time and stuff, but I would go onto my Instagram, because that's what I keep the most up to date of everything that I do, at Kirsty Carden. And and obviously feel free to send me a message, connect with me.
So there you heard it, folks, because this is somebody who's come from not necessarily advantageous background. And she now is helping lots and lots of women find their voice, be successful, earn an income, better themselves, be in a more positive community. And get what Kirsty just said. If you send her a little click, you get some of that free.
Yeah.
So why not? Why not? Yeah. Kirsty, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. So What's Your Story? There are so many angles we could have gone off of, but obviously we were time restricted. It's a real honor. It's a real pleasure. I love watching you on the stage. You have such amazing presence. I am in no doubt in my mind that we will continue to see more and more of you. Well done, you.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much.